The top stories: Ethiopia still uncertain as to when to conduct fourth national census as world population reaches 8 billion. And Iranian President embarks on a rare trip to Africa. Hello and many thanks for joining us. You're watching Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Tabitha John. Stay with us. The Ministry of Defense is celebrating the annual Dalol Central Command Festivity and Recognition Award ceremony in Jimma town. Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces, Field Marshal Burhanu Jula, and his deputy, General Ababao Taddese, attended the ceremony. The festival is being celebrated under the theme, "Let's Brace Up for Modernization and Victory." Members of the Army who have achieved outstanding performance in upholding the rule of law were presented with awards. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies urged states to provide humanitarian assistance to the needy in Ethiopia. Talking to ETV English, Undersecretary General of National Development and Operations Coordinator with the ICRC, Javier Castellanos, also appreciated Ethiopia's role in hosting refugees. Habtam Washagri sat down with him and compiled the following report.
The International Red Cross and Red Crescent Society expressed commitment to extend humanitarian support to the needy in Ethiopia. Talking to TV English, Javier Castellanos, the Undersecretary General of National Development and Operation with the IFRS, said the Red Cross Society in Ethiopia is undertaking exemplary humanitarian assistance to vulnerable communities in Ethiopia.
Our organizations, what we try to do is put a little bit of support through the Ethiopian Red Cross Society in order to alleviate human suffering. And that's where we are trying to focus attention, but also ensuring that our actions are contributing to the resilience in Ethiopia.
The coordinator further appreciated Ethiopia's commitment as well as willingness to host and manage refugees entering into Ethiopia. Castellanos underlined that the local and federal government, in coordination with the Ethiopian Red Cross Society, is extending their support to needy segments in Ethiopia.
What I have seen is and observed is the willingness to host refugees, the conditions to offer the basic needs for refugees. I have had the opportunity to discuss with the highest authority in Ethiopia, with your president, who has shared her passion to ensure that every single individual in your country be treated with care and respect. We see your local governments doing an amazing job in trying to facilitate the work. We have seen an extraordinary work of the Ethiopian Red Cross Societies, but particularly we see the host communities, to be willing to support and to contribute to those people that were in need to enter to the country due to the conflict.
In terms of financial support declining from international institutions, Castellanos highlighted solidifying institutional coordination is crucial to respond on humanitarian crisis.
Our contribution is minimal to the magnitude of the needs, but I believe are extremely important. We will soon launch a rehabilitation and recovery appeal to the international community, and probably will be around the 50 million Swiss francs to start with, and to look how we can support. But when we look at that one, in terms of the needs, this could be seen as a drop in the ocean. But what we see is that this is the moment where we need humanitarian community and development community together in order to help the prosperity in the country.
Following the worsening conflict in Sudan, over 75,700 refugees have crossed borders and entered Ethiopia. The fact is that the number of refugees from the war-torn Sudan continues to swell, further complicates the IFRC's humanitarian efforts in Ethiopia, said the coordinator.
Jennifer Lee Morgan, State Secretary and Special Envoy for International Climate Action at the Federal Foreign Office of Germany, reaffirmed Germany's continued support for Ethiopia's renewable energy development to tackle climate change and build up a green economy. In an exclusive interview with Fana Broadcasting Corporate, the Special Envoy said that Germany is ready to support Ethiopia in the development of a national grid, which is stated to be flexible enough to deploy renewable energy. She said Germany is supporting Ethiopia's effort in its energy transitions, including in preserving and developing its natural resources in the advent of concerns over climate change, food, and agriculture.
Welcome to the land of origins. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia is pleased to serve all your traveler banking needs. If you have money from any of these 16 countries, you can convert it to local currency by visiting our nearest branch. Alternatively, our secure Forex ATMs accept cash exchange, or if you prefer using your cards, we've partnered with Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay so that you can withdraw cash from our local ATMs or make cashless transactions at thousands of local POS partners securely and with confidence. We are linked with more than 700 global banks through our direct SWIFT address, CBE Teta. We also work with 16 international money transfer agents, out of which Tune and World Remit enable you to make direct deposits into our savings and current accounts or our popular CBE Burr mobile wallet. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, the bank you can always rely on.
Welcome back. The European Union has provided financing of about 31.5 million euros for the restoration and rehabilitation of 160 conflict-affected health facilities, mainly in Ethiopia's northern regions, Tigray, Amhara, and Afar. EU and Ethiopia confirmed the project activities focus on renovation and construction of damaged health facilities, strengthening of one-stop centers for gender-based violence services, and provision of health services using alternative service delivery modes, including mobile health, temporary clinics, and outreach services targeting IDPs having limited access to health services in conflict-affected areas. Accordingly, EU Ambassador to Ethiopia Roland Kobia and Dereje Duguma, State Minister for Health, launched the EU UNICEF Care for Health project, which aims at rehabilitation and restoration of health services in conflict-affected areas, particularly in Tigray, Amhara, and Afar regions. The world's population has continued to swell, growing more than 3 times larger than it was in the mid-20th century. The global human population reached 8 billion in mid-November 2022, from an estimated 2.5 billion people in 1950, adding 1 billion people since 2010 and 2 billion since 1998. Meanwhile, Ethiopia, which successfully conducted 3 censuses, seems to have stuck with a fourth one still undecided. Our staff reporter Tigist Sarnisa takes us through the tedious process of census beginning 1984.
Ethiopia, in its modern history, conducted some 3 national censuses. The first census was conducted back in 1984 during the military regime. Back then, the census was only 81% of the population of the country due to peace and security issues at that time, and the total number of population was said to be around 46 million people. Ethiopia rolled up its sleeves for yet another census in 1994. In 2007, with the total population of the country was 53.5 million and 75 million respectively.
I take it as quite a measure of strength that the first census was conducted when the technological advancement left so much to be desired. Also, trained manpower was far from abundant. Things were much better 10 years later when the census managed to cover nearly 98% of the population. By then, technology advanced to a sufficient degree. The third such undertaking saw a much more enabling environment.
But the second most populous nation in Africa is facing a tough battle when it comes to getting anywhere with the fourth census. For years, since 2015, the country was rocked by internal challenges that hindered the next census to be conducted as per planned. This is against the current constitution dictating census to be conducted every 10 years. The global human population reached 8 billion in mid-November 2022 from an estimated 2.5 billion people in 1950, adding 1 billion people since 2010 and 2 billion since 1998. The world's population is expected to increase by nearly 2 billion persons in the next 30 years, for the current 8 billion to 9.7 billion in 2050 and could peak at nearly 10.4 billion in the mid-2080s. This dramatic growth has been driven by increasing number of people surviving reproductive age, the gradual increase in human lifespan, increasing urbanization, and accelerating migration. Major changes in fertility rate have accompanied this growth. These trends will have far-reaching implications for generations to come. The global population milestone of 8 billion represents nearly 7% of the total number of people who have ever lived on Earth. Calculating the number of people who have ever lived is part science and part art. No demographic data exists for more than 99% of the span of human existence. Still, with some assumptions about population size throughout human history, we can get a rough idea of this number. About 117 billion members of our species have ever been born on Earth.
Ghanaian President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo affirmed that he is committed and ready to further scale up and consolidate his country's relationship with Ethiopia. Ambassador Teferi Fikri, who has been appointed as Ethiopia's ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary to Ghana, presented his letter of credit to President Akufo-Addo in the Jubilee House, Accra. While meeting the president, Ambassador Fikri noted that Ethiopia and Ghana shared the oldest and longest-standing diplomatic relations in Africa, assuring determination to further strengthen the historical relations of the two nations. President Akufo-Addo, on his part, affirmed that he is committed and ready to further develop and strengthen the relationship between Ethiopia and Ghana and to support the ambassador during his tenure in Ghana. Africa is the most vulnerable continent when it comes to the number of road fatalities and road injuries. Talking to ETV English program, UN Secretary General Special Envoy for Road Safety, Jean Todt, who is on an official visit to Ethiopia and other East African countries, said that road safety needs to be the top agenda of every government to reduce the number of accidents. Shagao Yamato has the details.
Every year, 1.35 million people die on the roads over the world, between 30 to 50 million people injured with disability. Africa is the most vulnerable continent, which is affected by the number of road fatalities and road injuries. Ethiopia is no exception to this problem. Talking to ETV, UN Secretary General's Special Envoy for Road Safety, Jean Todt, who is on official visit to Ethiopia and other East African countries, said quality of vehicles, quality of roads, speeding and texting are among the major causes of road accident in Ethiopia.
It's around education, law enforcement, quality of the vehicles, quality of the road and quality of the post-crash care. Simple things in Ethiopia would divide by 2 the number of victims, like buckling the safety belt in the front or in the rear, wearing one proper ventilated UN standard helmets, which you can buy for below $20. Speeding, drink and drug driving, texting would definitely be the first measure to take.
The special envoy for road safety indicated that 90% of failures of road accidents occur in African, some Asian and Latin American low and middle income countries. He also pointed out that all stakes involved in addressing the road accident, like governments, private sectors and organizations, must put road safety on top of the agenda in their discussions.
We need to discuss, to work with those governments, with the private sector, with all the organizations involved in addressing this pandemic, to make sure that road safety is not a forgotten issue. You know, it's a silent pandemic. We speak about other very important topics like climate change, but we don't speak enough about road safety. So we need to put road safety on the top of the agenda of every government.
The special envoy further explained that the UN is active to work with governments on road safety by distributing fundings for special activities of road safety. As to him, organizations like World Bank, World Health Organizations and others are very much involved to support reduce road accident, adding road safety is not only the matter of government, but it is the matter of passengers and drivers.
You need to unify the effort. You need to put everybody, every single citizen in the world is a road user, as a pedestrian, cyclist, motorcyclist, car driver, car passengers, public transportation. So it's not only the matter of the government, not only a matter of global organizations like United Nations, it's a matter of everybody.
In business, the Ethiopian Airlines is planning to double its fleet by 2035, and the industry can expect orders later this year, according to its Chief Executive Officer, Mesfin Tasso. The CEO told aviation and data analytics specialist Cirium that the airline has a plan to grow its fleet to 271 aircrafts by 2035 from 143 today. Cirium reported that the airline plans to place the next order before the end of the year. It is widely expected that the additional aircraft will be both wide-body and narrow-body aircrafts. Cirium Fleet's data reports the carrier's backlog includes orders for 17 Boeing 737 MAX 8 Plus, options for a further 5 of the single-aisle 5 777Fs and 4 Airbus A350-1000s, totaling 27 aircraft. As part of a 3-year project sponsored by the Ethiopian Ministry of Labor and Skills and the MasterCard Foundation, a network of religious congregations in Ethiopia, supported by the Global Solidarity Fund, signed an agreement with 2 local banks to provide microcredits to internally displaced persons, returning migrants and refugees to help them start their own businesses. The Intercongregational Network recently signed an agreement with 2 national international banks, Hebret Bank and Elebat Solutions, to support them in starting up and growing their businesses. Supervised by the Ethiopian Ministry of Labour and Skills, the Memorandum of Understanding foresees the implementation of an innovative financial inclusion project for migrants and vulnerable people living in Addis Ababa. The project will provide micro-lending services to organized groups of beneficiaries.
Welcome to the land of origins. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia is pleased to serve all your traveler banking needs. If you have money from any of these 16 countries, you can convert it to local currency by visiting our nearest branch. Alternatively, our secure Forex ATMs accept cash exchange, or if you prefer using your cards, we've partnered with Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay so that you can withdraw cash from our local ATMs or make cashless transactions at thousands of local POS partners securely and with confidence. We are linked with more than 700 global banks through our direct SWIFT address, CBE Teta. We also work with 16 international money transfer agents, out of which Tune and World Remit enable you to make direct deposits into our savings and current accounts or our popular CBE Burr mobile wallet. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, the bank you can always rely on.
So for those of you who feel they need something to give strength to their relationship and love, this has also gotten to the Fish River Canyon. As you can see, we have a couple of love locks here on the chains that take you down the hiking path. On this episode of Across All Borders Going South, it's all about the long road south. A trip to Fish River Canyon, Namibia, the world's second largest canyon. If you put in Google Map Windhoek to Hobos Camp, which is one of the lodges close to the Fish River Canyon, you will see immediately that it is about 644 kilometers, or if you started from Luderitz, it's 419 kilometers to the Hobos Camp. The Fish River Canyon is the second largest canyon in the world after the Grand Canyon. It commences at Seeheim at the lowest course of the river. The canyon is 161 kilometers long, 27 kilometers wide, and up to 550 meters deep. About the campsite or the Hobos accommodation and campsite offers different types of stays. So you've got lodges, and they've even got a pool for the rooms, and you've got the campsite.
And finally, the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi embarks this Tuesday on a rare tour of Africa in an effort to reduce the Islamic Republic's isolation by forging new alliances. The three-day trip to Africa is the first by an Iranian president in 11 years. President Ibrahim Raisi is to visit Kenya, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. Last Saturday, Raisi welcomed Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Itaf in a bid to boost relations with Algiers. In March, Iran and regional rival Saudi Arabia agreed to restore ties under a chain of mediated deals. And last month, President Raisi also visited Latin America before heading to Indonesia. You're watching Addis News Hour. Here's a quick reminder of the stories making headlines. Ethiopia still uncertain as to when to conduct fourth national census as world population reaches 8 billion. And Iranian President embarks on a rare trip to Africa. That's all we had for now. I'm Tabitha John. Many thanks for watching. Have a good night.